I don't know if anybody else is watching, right? This video is going to be back there. There's my dog Charleston in the back here, but I am attempting to live stream a demonstration of the Overflight Overlay Creator application to create our arrivals in Oshkosh. But I'm new to live streaming, so I'm always open to advice from people who are, in that influencer archetype. But I'm new to this stuff. So let's go and kind of take a dive into the application. I had been talking for about a half an hour prior about this, but if you look at our description here, first off, right, I want to introduce myself. My name's Douglas Denny. I came up with the idea of Overflight. I am a professional pilot. I have been a professional pilot for the last 13 years. And what got me into this was ultimately a series of obstacles that I faced as a professional pilot, kind of working my way into the industry. So I have all my commercial fixed-wing certifications, besides ATP. I also have all my commercial rotorcraft certifications, so I've gotten a little bit of a taste of both sides of the industry. I started in Connecticut. I migrated down to Florida, flew Daytona Beach campus to Daytona with the Embry-Riddle campus for 4 years, and did a bunch of different, whether it was ferry flying or flight instruction, did a bunch of work in that region. Then I migrated over to Arizona to the desert regions to do more fixed-wing flight instruction as an instructor, and then also learned to fly helicopters out there. Being a ferry pilot was really what really inspired me to get into building, is creating content for the cockpit, making a more ergonomic content. As a ferry pilot, I flew 10 different aircraft types, 8 of which I had never flown prior to the ferry flight itself. So I had to learn how to very quickly learn and adapt to new aircraft and almost treat every flight like a test pilot. I'm not recommending to every pilot that you should do this, because I'm going to be real, it wasn't always the safest approach to my career. But as a young pilot, I didn't have any money, and I needed to figure out a way to make money to keep my currency up. So that was what I ended up doing. In the process of doing that, I would heavily research every different type that I'd fly on Reddit, or try finding official published stuff for a Sky Arrow. You're not going to, especially if you've got an experimental engine system in it, or anything else. So sorry, I'm sending a text to my colleague here. Okay, cool. So at first it was just me researching aircraft types, and then taking that research and converting it to PDFs, and then making my own PDF checklists that project on my electronic flight bag. And in those PDFs, I would create specific charts, things like personal briefings. So I'd personalize them. I'd be like, okay, external checklists, like when I'm doing my pre-flight walk around, I would include a external briefing to myself, where I would ask myself personal questions that really only pertain to me and how I do things, and I made sure to include that and incorporate that in my PDFs, right, to personalize my plan. And I also, in Embry-Riddle, we had arrival briefings, we had departure briefings, we had all types of briefings. They kind of trained us to get into that whole airline pilot mindset, which was great when when you're taking that and moving it into something like something that was a little bit more out of the realm of control, like ferry flying, because ferry flying is very unregulated. You get into it and you just figure it out. And what you want to do in a situation like that is ultimately plan to your teeth to make something that is wild into something that is is plannable, and everything's expected, right? If we operate as pilots like a railroad, where we're always sitting on, I guess a metaphorical railroad track, then we are eliminating as many unknowns as possible. If we get off of that railroad track in this industry, then we are welcoming infinite unknowns, which every unknown could be that, that ultimately that chain link that results in, an accident. So migrating from the East Coast to the West Coast, getting into the desert region, the mountainous region, right, I was really inspired to start getting into geographic information systems from one of my students as a CFI. He was very, very technically inclined. I'm not going to give you his name, but he was very technically inclined. He knew about all the new synthetic vision systems and GPS systems coming onto the market, right? And he really inspired me. One of the lessons that we did, he was an instrument student, and he requested to do a long instrument cross country from Prescott Regional Airport to San Diego Regional Airport. And when he got to San Diego, he wanted to throw a little cherry on top and do the taxiway Delta transition route, which was a very uncommonly, like a little known route. It wasn't something that was published by the FAA. It was a local route that locals to the San Diego or South California region, right, only knew about, right? And what the route was is you pretty much cross over taxiway Delta over the San Diego airport and then fly, or no, I'm sorry, the way that we flew it was we flew over the, you could do it either way technically, but it is a line, right, that you're going to make over the San Diego naval station there, which allows you to pretty much get a bird's eye view of all the different carrier ships and the fighter jets and all that over the naval base, and get a great tour of the coastline in San Diego, and then fly ultimately back across the taxiway Delta, over the San Diego regional airport. So how did I prepare for this? Well, I took the older approach where I first researched everything online. I went on Reddit, I looked just on Google, and I found the taxiway transition. And then I took notes, right? I took notes on my phone, and then I published those notes into a PDF, and I made a checklist for myself, right? And I created a visual too. I drew a picture of it, right? So I can kind of see what I was doing. I was like, well, as an instructor, I felt very, very well prepared for it. But what did my student do? Well, my student, he created a KML path using Google Earth Pro. So I had never used that technology before this lesson. He brought it to the lesson, and he showed me how he projected it directly onto ForeFlight, and I was like, whoa. That is super cool. I didn't know you can do that. You can just take a freaking plan that you just make and just paste it onto ForeFlight and see it on your moving map. That's wild. And that's exactly what he did, right? So he taught me how to do it, and I just started using it all the time. So, it started in Arizona when I would regularly fly over the Grand Canyon. I was a private LLC flight instructor that worked out of Lenore Aircraft Rental Fleet. So we would do weird flights, like Europeans would come from like Germany, and like they would do flight lessons where they would request like long day lessons and like learn how to fly over the Grand Canyon, learn how to land on one of the airports in the Grand Canyon, like do all that kind of stuff. So formation fly, like it was super cool. But what did I start doing? Well, for every like SUFRA, or SATR or any weird VFR transition, I started making overlays using Google Earth Pro. And they were very, very simple at first, but they became a pivotal role in my flight planning as a pilot, because now it was, go from either a paper VFR transition plate that has no georeference, right, and just memorize the plate and try to find the visual references that the plate mentions while you're flying it for the first time, to, wow, now I have a line with waypoints that I could just like fly direct to on my map. I became a very accurate pilot using this technology. After Arizona, I migrated out to Alaska. That's where I started really my real Part 135 commuter professional flying experience out here. And, I have flown, out of Fairbanks, all through the northern Arctic region. I've flown Northwest Alaska, out of Kotzebue, in the Arctic up there. I've flown through Bethel. And at every one of these operators that I've flown at, right, I have used this technology to assess hazards in a region and ultimately depict those hazards visually, or plan for those hazards visually on my electronic flight bag. Especially in Bethel, right, where you have like 150 villages right around, like just scattered all throughout the region with very little infrastructure, right? Identifying hazards like terrain, obstacles, you got a lot of weather vanes out there, or windmills, and safe azimuths to get into runways, if the weather goes south, is a very, very important part of flight planning. So, not a lot of other pilots use this technology. I was really the only one working there that did. In Alaska, the mindset is really just use your eyes. which I disagree with. I've blatantly disagreed with that mindset since coming out here. It's gotten me in a little bit of trouble with the community in Alaska, you know, with my disagreements sometimes. But I stick to what I think. You know, I think that, you know, planning every flight like you're a train and making yourself a railroad with a plan and visualizing that railroad digitally is the best way and the newest way to do things. So it eventually led me to creating software. You know, I was not a software developer. I graduated college with an aeronautics degree. But I was so inspired with this technology that I was like, I need to create myself a tool so I can quickly create overlays and take a plan and just drive it directly into my program. And that's what I did. So over the last 4 years, I have been simultaneously working as a commuter pilot and learning how to create software and then building this software. First, it was me just selling individual waypoint individual packages that I build with other softwares like Google Earth Pro or ArcGIS or MBTile, or I'm sorry. I forgot the name of that one, but a few different programs, right? And then it was like, we got to figure out a way to make this easy so everybody can do it quick, right? And that's why I created the Overflight Overlay Creator app, which I'm super excited to showcase today. So yeah, let's get to it. I'm going to open up that app now. So on my home screen here, we can see Overflight. I'm going to click Overflight, and now we can see our moving map and some of our tools here. So we don't have an iOS application or Android app yet. The reason for that is because we're still updating this application and adding new features to this application at such a rapid pace that I don't want to put it on the App Store yet, because it's just going to be update after update after update, and it's going to be really annoying. So for the next few months, I would say probably about 6 to 8 months, we're going to keep it just a desktop application. To take a desktop application and put it on your mobile device's home screen, it's very simple. You're just going to go, whether it's an Android or an iPhone, you're going to go to Share when you're on that app URL in Safari or whatever browser you're using, and then say pin to home screen or add to home screen or share to home screen, and then it'll create that little widget for you. So this is optimized, primarily the desktop app is optimized for mobile use. It's good for desktop use too, but like haptics are a thing in here. You know, mobile haptics like screen double tap, tap and hold, they're all programmed here. So this is fully ready to be used on any mobile device, from, you know, whether it's a Windows device or whether it's an Apple device, regardless of it being an iOS application. We just want to keep it a desktop app for now, because we're very, very heavily dependent on user input here. We want to be able to immediately integrate, and I mean immediately when I say immediately integrate user input into the functionality of this device. This is your application, guys. I want you, this is the biggest enhanced planning tool for flying out on the market yet. It does things that no other application out there can do, and I'm really, really excited about it. So if you guys want to see something like you guys want, you know, let's say that you guys want to be able to see visual NOTAM data sets, right? Boom, I'm going to add it to my list of things to add, and we're going to get, you know, we're going to input visual NOTAM data sets so you guys can trace NOTAMs or whatever, right? Or if you guys want to see MOGAS at all the airports in a particular region, right? Boom, we can add that data set in there too. If you want to see a different kind of gradient function, if you want to see, you know, I don't know, you name it. Tell me what you want, I'll make it happen. So we'll go through this real quick. Top left here, first thing, well, we'll just do left to right. I got locate me. I click locate, takes you to your location. So this screen is fully interactable on mobile, right? So one finger, we'll just drag around the screen. 2 fingers, we can rotate our fingers around each other, or pan if we go left and right. If I click this little 3D cube here, this is a 3-dimensional terrain function. So now I can see a full base map. Let me get rid of this guy real quick. I had another file up there that I didn't want to spoil for everybody. You can see a full 3D base map of everything. So in 3D function, right, we can see the terrain, and we can also measure gradient. So up here, I am in my select tool, which is the default. If I tap a point here and tap a point here, we can see a measurement, and we can also see a gradient. So we can see that there is a negative 14.5 degree decline between point A and point B. Okay. dragging points around. We only get gradient if we're in 3D mode. So if I click off 3D mode and I enter bird's eye again, and then I create those same points, right, we can see that terrain data is unavailable. So I wanted to make a differentiation between that because it helps the user to be able to visualize 3D, and we can also project a sectional chart or another chart projection over the 3D base map. Because I am live streaming, it takes a long time for my sectional chart to propagate here. I do want you guys to be able to see what this looks like, but I have limited bandwidth for my internet connection right now, so it will take time. So there is my sectional chart now. You'll see things will run a little slower on my end today with this app just because I am live streaming with this device, right? But yes, so if you wanted to see a sectional chart projected over 3D terrain, you can do this too. And in the future, I've been kind of going back and forth if I wanted to add the IFR charts as well. I don't really think, for an application like this, I don't really know what the purpose of the IFR chart projections would be, because there's really no reason to do enhanced planning if you are on an IFR flight plan, because that's kind of air traffic control's job at that point. But I might end up adding the IFR projections over this as well. I certainly want to add, European charts and Canadian charts to this as well too. So I'll get off of this real quick and go back to satellite here. So we also have a north bug. So if I click north here, this centers us to true north, not magnetic north, true north. It's important to differentiate. So up top, so this is going to be our tool mode menu. On the left-hand side, this little pencil widget, we click the pencil. This is going to be our tools. So we've got our select tool on top, our erase tool, our waypoint tool, our path tool, and our polygon tool. And we'll use these in a little bit here, okay? I don't want to rush into anything, okay? Satellite, or down in the bottom left, we kind of already looked at this a little bit, but this is just different base maps you can use. For example, if you wanted to be able to see the names of different towns, just to kind of quickly orient yourself, you can do this and then switch back to your satellite to make specific adjustments. Up top here on the top right, we click on this little settings widget. And I see here we can change our units from nautical miles to feet, statute miles, meters, kilometers. Gradient display, we got both degrees and percent, or we can do degrees only or percent only. And here we can turn off true north if we want to. So by default, when you open this app for the first time, the true heading as secondary value will be off, right? This just gives you the ability when you're using that measurement tool, for example, you'll be able to see both true north or magnetic north first and then true north. So point to point, you can see here we got the magnetic north, and then in small letters or in small numbers we got that 090 degrees true. Okay. ForeFlight and GPX. So if I want to export files directly to ForeFlight, I'd click this, right? I get to name them, abbreviate them, set a version, organization name. Let's say that I am an operator and I'm creating a large, extensive package for my company. I'd want to specify the version, abbreviation for it, and the organization that owns this, right? And we'll talk more about this when we're actually using it, but yeah. GPX right here, if your goal was to format waypoints to GPX data sets so you can export them to Garmin Aero devices or any other device that takes GPS files, this is how you do it, right? One thing about this that you need to understand is GPX format or any just basic raw data formats like that only accept waypoints, usually, right? So there is text code for paths and polygons, but reciprocal devices like an Aero Series GPS and like a Garmin GTN device only accepts waypoints, which surprisingly enough can be extremely useful regardless, right? But yeah, we will be updating this GPX button in the next month or so. It's gonna change from being labeled GPX to GPS. And then when you click on GPS, it's going to give you the ability to either export in the form of a GPX file for an ERA series GPS, or a GTN file, or I'm sorry, a CSV file for a GTN series Garmin device, because the different Garmin GPSs have different output styles that they need to read user-created content. So right now, this only works with devices that can read GPX content, which the Garmin GTN series or GTX series cannot. The Garmin GTX series in general, unfortunately, will not be compatible with this. So if you got a GTX 530 or 430, then that will not read these, because they have proprietary data cards that you can't drag your own information into, unfortunately. But the GTN series can. Any of the newer devices will be able to read these files. So down here we've got our project tree. So project tree does a lot of stuff. It's where we're going to manage all of the work for the most part. Okay. Search function on the bottom right. So if I wanted to search, let's say, New York City, click on New York City, takes me right to Manhattan, right? It's also set up to
New York City, Manhattan, now playing on YouTube Music.
Okay, I did not ask for that, Siri. Cool. Oh, there's New York City, Manhattan playing on YouTube Music. She's always listening. Okay, cool. So I go back in here. It's also set up for our ICAO codes for airports. So if I go into, let's say, PAVE, okay, that should take me to Venati in Alaska, which it does. Cool. But the coolest aspect of this little search function is it's going to be its mass data input system. So previously I went through ChatGPT and I set up a prompt that said, I want you to find or create me a labeled waypoint list of every, actually, let me just do it again for you guys so you can see my process. So I'll go into ChatGPT here. Right. So here's what I did. I went through this whole, let's just do it again. I'm gonna do it again. Design, let's see here. Create a list, a labeled list of every major landmark in Zion National Park. Labeled list of lat long. Coordinates. For every major landmark in Zion National Park. So right now, I'm using an external AI software to come up with this list, right? One of the future upgrades of the Overflight creation software is I'm going to make it so this search bar will just allow you to just say, put that prompt in there, and then it'll just do the workflow for you, right? For now, you're going to have to go through a different software, whether it's Claude, ChatGPT, Google, or what. But let me tell you how cool this is, right? Let's say your company has like a hand-drawn list. Let's say like the manager of your company just like by hand made a list of, let's say, 100 lat-long coordinates that only that company knows about. And you take your cell phone, you take a picture of that list, and you send that list to ChatGPT, and you say, hey, convert this list into a labeled list of lat-long coordinates, right? And then you get something that looks like this, right? You just simply copy it, and then you go into my search tool, and then you paste it, and then you go import on the right. We verify that all of these waypoints are there. Click import 51 waypoints, and boom, just like that, you just totally removed the hours and hours and hours of prior workflow that was necessary to create georeferenced waypoints covering a large area, right? So again, great for especially backcountry tour operators that have like company specific waypoints and locations. Also, I want to let you guys know too, I'm the owner of Overflight. I don't have access to your proprietary data on here. I can't see the things that you guys make. So if that's something that anybody's concerned about on the company side when it comes to using this product, that is not something that like I don't see your work. So yeah, if you guys have proprietary landmarks that you guys wanted to search and an old school system, whether it's text or handwritten, right? You just take a photo of it or shoot the text file to ChatGPT, have it converted into something that could just be pasted into this program, and then boom. Our lat long tool mass waypoint, it takes whatever coordinate style. I think I might have had issues with one coordinate style in the past, but that's an easy fix. All you do is just paste whatever file you have in a ChatGPT and say like, hey, change the file type. It takes most lat long coordinate styles. But yeah, we can check these out now and just kind of verify that they're in the right place. Yeah, Timber Creek, Cal Canyon. Let's see if I haven't been to Zion in a while, but where's Shangri-La? I remember that one. The Altar of Sacrifice. That sounds like a fun place to go. Oh, it's a canyon overlook. Okay, there we go. Yeah, that makes sense. East entrance, yeah. So, yeah, so I mean, I would have to look at every single one of these just to verify their accuracy. And like, again, this is AI that created this list, so there is always a level of like, go back in and make sure that you're looking at the right thing. But if you had a list of known data, right, that your company had or whatever, and you just pasted it in here, it would accurately georeference all the material. Okay. Cool. So, this is a great time to use some of our tools here. Select function, right? In our select function, if I select one of these waypoints, hold it with my finger, I can move it around and drag it to wherever, and that changes the lat long coordinate. There is an undo feature if I wanted to go back. Just undid the work, right? I went back, right? If I wanted to change the properties of all of these waypoints at once, or move their entire location, or move all of their locations to somewhere else, I can use my lasso tool to just simply draw a lasso over it, right? If I wanted to move them, I just hold this center bug and I can just move them all to a different location. I don't think you'd want to do that if you did a georeference mass import though. We'll go back there and just kind of revert the work. One of the things that you would probably want to do is, let's go group into a folder. Now we can see in our project tree, we've got a folder that organizes all of the waypoints in one spot, right? Lasso this guy again, 2-finger tap outside the lasso box. We can go show properties and now adjust all the properties simultaneously for every waypoint. So we go green here. I can change all my sizes. Let's go down to 2. I'll change my shapes to squares. Label size will make a bit smaller here. Opacity to remove clutter when we're looking at this on an electronic flight bag. Make my white, and then we have to click apply to all on the bottom right before anything happens, right? And then now we can see we just changed the properties of all of these simultaneously, and those properties will be reflected in ForeFlight or Garmin Pilot when we export it to those softwares. So one of the most incredible uses of this is going to be definitely that mass feature there. Properties menu, right? Go to the 3-dot menu. We can rename the file, cut, copy, paste. We can delete them all in one, export them in the form of just basic KML file to Garmin Pilot, or export to ForeFlight in the form of a content package. I'm going to delete this, and we're going to move on to something different. So I'll just create a little exercise that kind of showcases every one of our tools simultaneously here. Let's say that we're in Alaska, okay, and we are, my name's Joe Schmo. I've got my own 206, and I'm trying to kill some sheep today, okay? So for whatever reason, I know, right, that there's a really great sheep hunting spot. Let's say, and again, I'm not a sheep hunter. I don't know much about hunting sheep, and I'm not. This is not an actual hunting location for anybody who's watching this video and wants to kill sheep. Okay, let's just say that for whatever reason, I know that there's a really great sheep hunting spot here, and this particular gravel bar, right, has been for the past few years where I have decided to land my 206 before going on a sheep hunting trip. So I don't know what the rivers look like, because the rivers, just so you guys know, who aren't, into any of the backcountry stuff, and I've got very little knowledge of like specific backcountry stuff, okay? I mean, I know enough, right? But I am not like a cub owner, right? Riverbeds change every year, right? So if you guys are looking at, using this application, just be advised, that, like, for example, if you're here and you go into my measurement tool and you're like, okay, well, I need 250 feet to land my Super Cub, and then you measure this out and you're like, oh, cool, let's change this to feet real quick so we can get a better, there we go. This is 273 feet. Boom, I could land my Super Cub there. Well, every year, or I shouldn't say every year, every storm, right, these gravel beds change. So this function really, especially for backcountry stuff, maybe for the desert that'll work, right? But when you're looking at gravel bars, don't use it for that. I would not recommend using it for that. Gradient, however, is fine, right? You can see gradient here. That makes sense. As long as you're in 3D mode, the gradient works. But nonetheless, we'll move on. But let's say that just for the past 4 years, I know that this area is a fantastic place to, just this section of this river is a fantastic place to plan to scope out a gravel bar. And this is where I want to ultimately go. So what we'll do is we'll set our criteria for my path tool here. I'll make a red border. I'll fill it in a yellowy color. I'll make the fill about 40%. Yeah, let's do 30%. Right, border width. That's fine. And then border percent, we'll keep it fully there. And then we will, so we've got two ways that we can make a polygon here. We can either draw or we can click. So if I wanted to draw a polygon, I could literally just draw around the section. And boom, I just made a polygon. But if I wanted to be a little bit more accurate with an oblong shape like this, I can go click, boom, boom, and I can just work my way down. One thing that I'd like to specify about the polygon, you can see that like this weird like second line is just like what is that? It, when you're making a polygon in any GIS software, it always has to close the shape at all times. So that's just telling you what the shape will look like when it's closed. Focus less on that and more on the vertices that you're making. Okay, so there we go. So if we create a path or a polygon using the click tool, right, the way that we actually see that completed shape is we have to go back into our tools and click any other tool, whether it's select or not. Now we actually have a shape, okay? If you want to edit where one of the vertices are, okay, you can go into our select tool. You can grab the vertice, and let's say you wanted to just drag it a little bit over to the right. Maybe move this one too. You can just hold, click, and drag them, right, if you wanted to make those edits. Very nice. So now, again, a path, if you're using a path on ForeFlight, or this is a polygon, but a polygon or a path, if you see them on ForeFlight, there's no way to go direct to a polygon or a path. There's no built-in tech that does that. So what I recommend for users is to create waypoints, right? So let's say that you wanted to create two waypoints here, one designated for, let's see, one designated for the northwest section, and then one designated for the southeast section. And then we wanted to name those waypoints. We'll go into our select tool. We'll hold and release, And then we'll name this one, we'll just name this one northwest. And then we'll go down, and then we'll just say save. And then we'll label this one southeast. Okay, and while I'm here, let's talk a little bit about what you can do in this waypoint properties menu. So description. If I were to type in a description, this description would appear in either Garmin or Garmin Pilot or ForeFlight as a description that pops up when you click on the waypoint in the application. So if I wanted to put special information, whatever, it would all be there. I could also manually adjust the latitude and the longitude if I wanted to. I don't know why you would want to, right? But if you wanted to, you could, right? This is just in degrees decimal format. And I can set an altitude elevation if I'm using a 3D projection software to project this. I can change the color, the size, the shape I'm using for this particular waypoint, the opacity, label size, label color. And for ForeFlight content packages, I can associate PDF files with it. So if I went add PDF and I went to, I'll just go to boom, 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 boom. Just throw a random PDF in there, right? It'll load. You can name it. I'll just name this one test, save, and now I have a PDF file that will be associated with that particular waypoint in ForeFlight. So if I click on it, it'll give me more details, and then I can actually see that PDF. So if you have, like, we're going to do the Oshkosh stuff in a second, right? If you see the Oshkosh stuff, we got that 30-page Oshkosh document. For particular zones in that whole procedure, you're going to want to be able to see the documents where the information that you're projecting came from to verify your plan, right? So that's just one of the applications. So now we have this whole zone here that we can see. And again, this is 3D, right? So now if we wanted to see, like, let's say this is where we plan to land, but we know that up this mountain pass, this is where the sheep are at. Like, for the past 4 years, right, we've noticed that the sheep like to congregate right between these two runoffs. Okay, this is just where they like to chill. There's like vegetation right here, and the sheep just love to chill right there. So what we can do here, we can go back and do our polygon tool or our path tool. And what we can also do if we go to draw is I'll make this one a different fill, so it will represent where our sheep are at. Okay, what we'll do here is we will create a smart shape. So I'll just do a rough outline of a rectangle and I'll hold my finger down. So this looks more like an ellipse in that perspective. Let's do it like this. An ellipse works, doesn't matter. There's my ellipse. So I just created a symmetrical shape over that area. Okay, this is where my sheep would congregate. Few shapes that we do have, so you can create squares, ellipses, holding patterns or racetracks, rounded rectangles. I think I set in circles for now. We're gonna add triangles and hexagons, and I'm gonna do some SAR stuff with it too down the line, but those aren't a thing yet. But yeah, if you wanted to just kind of freehand, like for example, we'll do a circle. It recognizes things differently when you're in 3D mode sometimes. There's a rounded rectangle, right? Boom. Okay, but now, if I wanted to visualize this all, and we can also do arcs. It's another one. If you wanted to do an arc. Cool. If I wanted to visualize this all now on a sectional chart, not in 3D mode, you can go to your sectional chart. It's going to take a little bit to load. Right, and then this is what you'd see on your moving map. So we just were able to go in, literally visually go into a three-dimensional box canyon, look at a zone that maybe you're a hunter and you've seen pictures of this zone in real life, right? Circle it, and then change it so now you can see exactly what that same zone that you visualized on the ground looks like in real time, right? And there you go. It's all right there. Alrighty, so I'll just group these real quick into a single folder, and then, you know, for real life sake, like if I was going to really make this, I would name that folder something like, you know, hunt, whatever. And then we've got all of our files consolidated to one location. If I click the green mark, it goes away. Let's say that I go somewhere far away and I totally forget about where that file is located. What I can do is I can just click the green dot and this blue crosshair, and then it'll take me right back to that project that I worked on, right? So I'll go in here real quick and I'll delete this project. Now that we did a kind of a general overview, let's actually start breaking down the Oshkosh stuff. Okay, cool. So let's go into Internet Explorer or Safari, whatever you're using, right? And look into Oshkosh. Okay, we go EAA, AirVenture flight procedures. And I just want to tell you guys real quick. I've been to Oshkosh twice. I have never flown an aircraft into Oshkosh, and I wanted to build this as somebody who has never flown an aircraft into Oshkosh because I wanted to meet you guys at eye level, right? For people who have never done these before and never reviewed these procedures, I want you guys to see, you know, what it looks like to build this for the very first time. This is not rehearsed. This is not me, you know, like scouting out ways to like make my program look better. This is literally somebody who has never done this before, you know, building a file along with you guys, okay? And you guys can just kind of see what this looks like. Okay, so we've got a digital copy of the 2026 procedure. We'll get this copy up real quick. And then what I'll do is I'll just kind of save this to my files. Again, I'm streaming, so it's going to be a little bit slow to load documents. Okay. Okay, finally, there we go. So I'll take this document and then I will send it to my Dropbox real quick so we can let's go to Overflight, and then I'll just go to demo content and then just put it right in there. Again, sorry about this, guys. Just have to, again, wanted to make this as realistic as possible. My dog is kind of going crazy behind me too right now. I think he's thirsty. He's going to have to wait. All right, so now we've got that packet in our Dropbox, and that's what we'll operate from this point on. I'm going to split my view here and open up my Dropbox. Okay. Boom. And we'll let this open up. Dude, stop. Alrighty. Again, my bad for the slow connection here. I don't have any like elevator music to play in the background. You can listen to my dog pant. He's pretty cute. This is usually when me and him go to the dog park. So he's getting kind of antsy right now. He's only 5 months old. So, but he does pretty good while I sit here and build software. He copes with it. All right, so we got our side-by-side now of our 30-page Oshkosh document, right, and our overlay creator. So I'll make our overlay creator as big as possible. And this is great, too, because the smaller screen here that you can see, the smaller screen that you can see here better replicates what it would look like on an iPhone to make this stuff, which you could make all these files on an iPhone, no problem. So let's pan over to Oshkosh. So what we'll do here first is we'll type in Oshkosh to get a better Oshkosh. Oshkosh, Wisconsin. Boom. Sectional chart's already up. And then let's start looking through this thing. So, pre-flight planning. Okay, so the first three things I can see here is that the EAA starts telling me that I should start planning out alternate airports. Okay, so I should probably find those guys. It says pilots intending to land at Whitman Regional Airport, OSH, should be prepared for the possibility, and I'm pretty sure this is Whitman right here. I just make, go back to streets. That's not Whitman. There we go. This is Whitman right here. So I'm going to start by just placing a waypoint right dead smack in the middle of this airport, just kind of for our visual reference while building this, right? Which, I mean, most importantly, we need to know where Whitman Regional is, right? So let's just do this. Okay, we'll save this guy right there. And then planning your alternates, we're looking at OSH, we're looking at FLD, so I'll come down here, I'll do FLD. Fond du Lac County. Boom. I'm going to mark this guy out real quick. I'm going to name this one alternate because we'll be able to see the FLD in ForeFlight. Then we got ATW, Appleton International. Okay. Cool. And this one, alternate 2. Save that. Or Green Bay, so we got GRB. Okay. These airports have parking and scheduled transportation to Oshkosh. Very good. So now we've got the 3 specified alternates that they bring up here. And what I'll do here too is let's change this to, I'll change the color of my Oshkosh waypoint to green, just so we don't confuse it from an alternate. Very good. And boom. And it's actually a pretty good idea now, while we're here, to actually take the PDF file that we're looking at right now and put it into our Osh waypoint. So we've got that data streamlined. So we'll go into, I put this in demo. Demo content. I think it's because I have it open. I can't download it. Let's see, demo content. Oh, you know, that's why. It's because it's not a PDF. Let me go in here real quick and I'm going to make this a PDF. I don't know why they made that file stupid. I apologize for the inconvenience. But if you get a stupid file that's obviously a PDF that looks like that, just for your knowledge, you can go in and just rename it PDF, and boom, you've got a PDF file. I don't know what an ASPDX, whatever the heck file is. It's probably something that's easier to download because it's a smaller file type, but it doesn't matter. The ForeFlight only reads PDFs, so it has to be in PDF format to be able to fit in there. So we'll just let that upload real quick. I guess not real quick, as quick as it wants to, I suppose. Making sure my dog doesn't eat my cables here. Alrighty. Again, my bad that this is taking so long. I just definitely want this PDF in this, so when we do export all these, when we're done, we can see the files on ForeFlight. That's very important to demonstrate. So I will just kind of like stand by here and yeah. So I don't really know how many of you guys are watching right now, or if anybody's watching right now, because I'm not good enough at live streaming to figure out the whole commenting thing yet. But I'm sure next time I'll be good enough at at this, so I can like respond to your comments. Later on, I'm either gonna figure it out on the go how to respond to comments, or open up another live stream for commentary from you guys asking about, you know, what this is, or requesting new content. But yeah, if you do have any user requests for Overflight, you just check out our website at www.overflightefb.com. And we have literally a user field at the bottom of every page. So you guys, regardless of where you ask your questions, can ask them there. If you go and you click the link and you click the tab that says create, it'll take you to our desktop application page. So, you know, what we sell is we actually sell pre-made content package bundles. Right now we have all of Alaska, every chart supplement, VFR transition, or every chart supplement, every piece of analog chart supplement data that wasn't georeferenced, we have georeferenced. So all the VFR transition routes for the whole state, some specific hazard areas, every waypoint grouping that the chart supplement has put together, we've digitized, and more too. We've so far we've covered the Northeast, and we've covered Alaska. You know, my intention is to eventually cover every chart supplement region of the United States. But again, my priority has been building this software for the past, I've been heavily prioritizing this software for the past 8 months. So I've kind of taken my focus off of that for a period to create this software. Then I'm going to be getting back into there. But we do sell those content packages pre-made. And yeah, so this should be good now. Oh, it's not. Great. Don't know why that happened. Well, let's just skip this for now. My internet connection is not great, so just anything that requires uploading is going to take extra time, right? So we'll just leave this as is and create more visual stuff, all right? So I'll get my sectional chart projection back up here, and then we'll open this file and just kind of review it. I'm pretty sure the reason EAA published that as whatever file type it was before it was a PDF is because they probably used really high resolution images in it for whatever reason, and those high resolution images in PDF files show up as pretty big files. So we'll just open this up and let this work. And there is a workaround that I'll show you guys if you do want to import specific pages, or even copy 32 pages and put them directly into this application too, if you ever encounter a large file type like that. Cool, there we go. Yeah, you can see it's super high quality. Alrighty. So we got our alternates here. Next up here is, if your alternate is Fond du Lac, check pages 22 to 23 for temporary control tower information. Alright, so let's scroll down to 22 and 23 here and figure out what that information is. 22, Fond du Lac arrival. Alrighty, so this is one of those examples of when it would be advantageous for us to add something to so there's Appleton right there. This is Austin, this is Fond du Lac. Okay. FAA will operate temporary air traffic control tower at Fond du Lac from Saturday, July 18th through Sunday. Tower will be operational from 7 a.m. until 8:30. Communication with FLD towers required when at or below 3,300. Okay, so here's what this is saying. Okay, Fond du Lac is pretty much going to turn into a Class Delta airspace, right, during that particular time period because it's got such high traffic intensity. So it's no longer a uncontrolled field. So this is a great way, this is a great opportunity for us to draw something like a shapefile in the form of a circle. And what I'll do first is I'm going to create a 4 nautical mile radius. So we'll go click. I'll click the center of the airfield, and then I'll click somewhere else. I guess I can do it that way too. That's because there's already a waypoint there. Okay, so now you can see that I made this line right here. I'm going to use this as a measuring tool and a radius device, or a radius indicator for a circle that I'm going to draw here. So right here I can see we got this in feet. I'm going to change this to nautical miles. We just verified that this is nautical miles, not statute. Yeah, 4 nautical miles. So yeah, that's our standard for our class Delta airspace shelf. So we'll just go to 4 nautical miles here. Boom, that's close enough. Alrighty, and then I will click out. So I'll just, that just saves the path. Okay, and then what I'll do is I'll go into polygon and I'll go into draw, and then my border, I want it to kind of look similar to a Class Delta airspace because that's kind of what they're going for here. Alright, and I'll make my fill just a really light blue that is almost transparent completely. Border is definitely full there, and then I'm just going to draw the closest thing I can to a circle. So I got a circle, boom, and then we'll use our circle, and then I'm going to drag my circle so that it lines up with not only the center of the airport but also that 4 nautical mile bug. So I'll just put my circle right there, right on the center of the airport, and then I'll just increase its size so it matches with the 4 nautical miles. And then it's better to be safe than sorry, so I'll make it just slightly bigger than 4 nautical miles because you don't want to be smaller, or else you could be flying into airspace that you don't have permission to fly into. Okay, so I'll just call that close enough for now. Sweet. Now what I'll do is, because I don't really need this path anymore, I'll go in here, I'll click outside of it, and I'll delete that path. Again, I just use it as a measurement tool. And then now back in my select tool here, I'll go alternate, hold it, and then we'll start adding stuff to the description here. So here, I'll just go into my PDF, and I will copy all of this, and I will paste it into my description. Alrighty. Get all this in here. Put all this data into my description. And then I told you there was a workaround. I'm going to show you how that workaround works now. Okay, so let's go. I'm going to make this my full screen here. And I am going to take... Oh, come on. I am going to take screenshots of this page and of this page. Very good. And then I'm going to go into my pictures. I'm going to go select, boom, let's go share. Then we're going to go print. I'm going to share this as a PDF. Let's go. Save to Dropbox. I'm going to rename this Von Dulac. I think that's FLD. Done. And then demo content, we'll just throw it in that folder. And I'm only going to do this once so you guys can get a more realistic perspective. I'm not going to do this multiple times, but you can put these PDFs in pretty much anything you want. Okay, so now what I can do is in PDF here, I'll say add PDF. This new PDF should load in a second here. So there's demo content. We got FLD. I see you, little man. I see you, buddy. I see you, dude. Talking to my dog. He's just looking at me. He's like, why are we not at the park, Dad? Why are we not at the park, Dad? Stop. Okay. Alright, so we'll just let that upload. And I do want to at least actually upload one PDF here so you can see just what that looks like. But yeah, basically, if you're running through like a large document that won't really download in time, you can always just screenshot it and then print it in whatever, either Android or iPhone, and then you can choose to just print to PDF, which is just pretty much a digital printout. And then save that PDF to whatever, and then send that to... and then just open that document up in the Overlay Creator to put it into your files. There is an application called Notability that I recommend too. I guess it's not really free. PDFs can be kind of tricky sometimes. There's a few ways that you can. I think the cheapest way is to just do it the way that I said, just take screenshots and then print them out to PDFs. But I use Notability to organize my PDFs into full file. Like if I have a 30-page document, that I have screenshots that I want to convert to PDFs, then I will put them into Notability and then do it that way. But I'm not gonna showcase somebody else's product here. I do like that one. Charleston, stop, dude. My dog is currently gnawing on my arm. You gotta stop, buddy. once again, what is going on, man? It's the second time that's happened. I've never experienced this issue before. And again, guys, I don't know if you guys are saying stuff in the live chat right now. I'm new to live streaming. I don't even I don't even know how to read that right now. So I apologize. I'm not really much of an influencer. I'm just getting into this now. I've been developing this for the past 4 years. So I kind of do a lot of the back end stuff. And right now I'm just trying to get this going. This PDF upload thing has never really been a problem, outside of this document for whatever reason. It's just taking a really long time. It might be because I have a second screen up. Let me see if I get rid of that one, if it just does a little bit better here. Usually this uploads super quickly from my experience. It's just this, and this should be a screenshot. So, but I think the problem is, while I live stream, I'm uploading from Dropbox. While I live stream, just my connection is just not great. So if you guys had your own files, usually, a product like a file that was this size would take seconds with no issue. The only time this has ever happened is with the live stream up. It just keeps recycling, which is very strange. Okay, well, we'll just leave that out for now. But if you guys want to go in after this and try to upload PDFs to waypoints, then it shouldn't be a problem. I've never seen this before, and I think it's just because of my poor network quality. Alrighty, cool. So we'll just leave that out, unfortunately, but we're good to go. We'll move on here. Opening up this again, we'll go back to the top of the document. Go in the back. Go in the back seat. Sorry, guys. My dog keeps gnawing on my arms. Alrighty. So we got our alternates in. We checked 2223. VFR flight plans diverting from Oshkosh are reminded to change their flight plan destination with flight service. So another way that I use waypoints a lot is I think they're the clearest way to see notes just in your face on ForeFlight. So what I'll do here is I'll just colorize any notes in the form of waypoints that I'd want to see on my map. And I'll make it a smaller size here. Yeah. It's black. Cool. And I'll throw a waypoint right here. And then I'm going to make it a note taker. So in its name, I'm going to put this note. Okay, so let's just go and copy this. And I'll color, actually, you know what? I'll color code it red so it no, you know what? We'll leave it. We'll leave it like that for now. So now when we're in ForeFlight or Garmin Pilot, we'll actually be able to see a note associated with a waypoint. Okay, so flight planning, Thursday 16th, which is close to all arriving aircraft from 8 p.m. until 7 a.m. Except Thursday the 23rd. Okay, cool. So pretty much that's another note there that we'd want to add here. So let's just throw in... We'll throw in another one. And I've never really tried long notes showing them on ForeFlight, but I want to try it. I want to see what it looks like. Because again, my goal here with this product is to enhance flight planning. So if you have things like specific notes, oh, I didn't push save. Bummer. Paste that in there. And then we'll go save, and then we got that note in there too. Sweet. Closed via class. No problems from the airship demonstration area. And then this is a really important note too. This will tell us all of our TFR times. Which what I'll do is I'll make another waypoint up here, and I will name this one TFR times, so we'll be able to jump back in, see that information later on. So again, right, I'm trying to take as much information with me as humanly possible from this 30-page document. I want this information like in front of me. So when I'm actually there, I'm not missing anything. And if there's 1,000 things going on around me, I can quickly, I don't have to file sift. I don't have to do anything. I just look at it and it's right there. Okay, so that's my goal. I'm going to be modifying things as I go here. I just want to try to put as much in front of me as possible first. Okay, so we'll go size here. I'll just make that a 3 for now. And I'll increase my label size for this one in particular. Boom. Cool. So now that'll kind of just be a resource for me on the side. Closed via class Delta NOTAMs and all aircraft must remain clearly airship demonstration area 2 hours when they're active. Cool. OSH aircraft parking. Separate aircraft parking areas are used at OSH. Very good. Very good, very good, very good. There's their labels. Now we want to see where they are. So this is a great way to use our GPS feature now. I want to know exactly where. I want to label all the parking areas so I can see them on my map. That would be a great way to use this. So let's go and see if they give us a page here with more information about the parking areas. There's the arrival itself. There is the hold. I know it's here somewhere. Canadian pilots. I remember when I was a kid, I did the whole Civil Air Patrol Blue Beret thing, and we would mess around with the Canadian pilots because they would always be the ones that would be totally confused coming in. Because I mean, it's hard enough to fly into the United States from Canada after operating in Canada every day, and then you're dealing with the Fisk arrival. I mean, it's a wild place in the middle of July out there, right? So I'm just looking for a grid of the parking lots, which I might not be able to find here. I don't know if you EAA guys are ever going to watch this video, but you know, I mean, maybe I'll be the one to create it, you know, but having like an overhead of where all the parking locations are would be wonderful. So usually, when you go into Oshkosh, how it works is, so you're gonna get a piece of paper, right? Just like a piece of printer paper, and you, with a Sharpie or whatever, you're gonna go in big letters, right? Like if you're going into home built camping, you're gonna go home built camping, and then they have like hundreds of marshallers that are out there, and it's gonna be like you'll go on frequency. They'll tell you to get off the runway, and then you're just gonna follow the marshallers, almost like, you know, it's almost like a digital lighting system at an airport, except with human beings. And they're going to look at that placard that you're going to have up against your window, and they're just going to guide you. They're going to guide you to that parking location. But what I'm trying to do right now is actually find the parking locations so we can actually see where they're bringing us to. Because that's one of the things, like, when I was a marshaller in Oshkosh, you know, there would be some pilots that just didn't read this. So they would forget to... they would forget their parking thing. So we would have to tell them to shut their engine off. We'd go up to their windscreen and be like, dude, where are you going? And they're like, oh, I'm trying to go to home built parking, but it's across the airport, I think. I don't really know. And then we'd have to figure out a way to kind of, on our radios, be like, hey, you know, this guy in this Cherokee 6 is trying to, I guess for home builts that wouldn't be the case, but in this whatever aircraft model is trying to go over to home built, you know, we'd have to relay that message through a line of marshallers. So I'm trying to see if I could find an image of where all of the parking areas are, because I think that would be a really great thing to put there. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm actually going to go online and try to find this. Oshkosh parking areas visualized. I don't know why they don't have a bird's eye view of all the parking. Oshkosh fly-in. I think it might be because it changes every year. I'm just going to see if this is a thing somewhere. Oh, using the official EAA AirVenture map. Great. I love it when there's an official map for things. That makes my life so great. All right. And I think they actually, let's see here. Food vendor, incoming traffic to AirVenture. All right, so this is what I'm looking for. Yeah, okay, so this is why, because I think they change it on an annual basis, and they will allocate certain zones so the general populace, they'll know. It's like, hey, like if I want to look at a bunch of home-built aircraft, I can just walk over here. But let's actually look at this and see if we can actually, like, make little mini waypoints on our airport environment while we're doing this whole overlay thing. So I don't know if you guys have noticed or anything, but I kind of get, when I start a task, I start kind of getting into the weeds a little bit and becoming a little overly perfectionist about it. But again, that's the point of this, right? So if you guys are planning to go to an event like Oshkosh or Sun and Fun, or if you're an aerial firefighter, you can take 14 freaking hours, right, and look through all of your paperwork and documents associated with that mission, right, and then take the time to put it all into this digital format and move it onto your electronic flight bag. Like, that is the purpose of this tool, right? You want to take your plan and efficiently move it into your program so you can execute as intended. All right, so here's our airport. And now I'll open up my application again, and we'll switch this from sectional mode to satellite mode, and we'll pivot so that it orients with this image, and then we'll go here. So warbird parking, go into waypoints. I'm going to make all the parking zones one color. I'm going to make it super small too, because it's only going to be designed for the ground. That's fine. I'll make this a diamond shape, and I'll make it 70% opacity. Warbird parking, it's looking like that's over here somewhere. Warbird parking, save. Okay, home built parking and aerobatic parking. Where are we? Okay, so there's our crisscross. There's runway 18. And then it looks like underneath. Okay, so it's right here, it looks like. Yeah, that's the gates right there. So we got home built and we got acro. So home built's right there. Okay, boom, and then we got acro. Actually, let's keep it textbook and name it aerobatic. Not aerobic, aerobatic. Though if you are an aerobatic pilot, I would recommend aerobic workouts. Okay. Vintage. Alrighty. Verify that this is what it should be. Parking camping. Okay, so this is vintage. Okay. And this is a really cool little thing too here. So we can see that I don't want to say that because I don't know for a fact. There's aerobatic there. There's that taxiway, and this is our vintage run-on. Okay, that makes sense. So right here, we could name this. I could actually develop a little path here, and I'll make this red to match what's in our map. Make it a wider line. And then we'll do, this would be our vintage path here. And then this is our vintage parking zone. Cool. Okay, and then we got ultralights. I don't know if you guys can see, but you see where these little paths are right here. So this is obviously going to be our ultralight gate here. So we'll make a path for that too. Click and we'll match the color. We'll call it that little bluey color right there. Boom, boom. Right, there's our ultralight path. And then I'll do ultralight is going to be in here. That's the exhibits. It's ultralight camping. So I'm just going to say parking is over here somewhere because that's what would make sense. That's definitely the ultralight zone. Okay, very good. So next up here we've got seaplane amphib parking and camping down here. So I would assume there is water over here somewhere. No. Okay, so that would be an amphib parking spot. Where is our lake? Okay. Cool. We're all in this together, guys. We're all in this together. Okay, so that would be on the far right of that after this. This is so weird that it's like that, though. Okay, whatever. Trust your instruments. Okay, so we'll just do... Looks like there's an ultralight runway. Looks like it's like over here somewhere. I can move that later, but I'll just call this seaplane / amphib. Hopefully it's an amphib considering it's in the middle of the grass. I'm getting so used to Alaska where it's like there's no I mean, there's amphibs out here. Like you'll see some people with like the wheel floats on, but like it's so uncommon. Like in Alaska, like what most people do is they'll just put floats on and then just put their plane on a trailer and then just drive a truck down the runway and take off from the trailer. I even see videos of people out near Lake Hood landing floats on muddy grass, like literally just landing a float on muddy grass here. No wheels for like quick maintenance and then trailer shooting it off. That happened in Lake Hood the other day. It's freaking awesome. But yeah, Alaska's kind of a different beast. So, okay, so we got our warbirds. Home built, aerobatic, sweet. I'm going to separate these two just because like it doesn't really make sense that they're so close together. Okay. Sweet. Now, what's next here? We got warbird camping. Where's my warbirds? Warbird parking. I think I might have put that on the wrong side. Yeah, I put that on the wrong side. That should be over here. And there's that drag and drop feature. I also put an S at the end of parking. Cool. Okay. There's that cap area, and then warbird camping. You definitely want to make sure that if you're building one of these, you separate, like if you're paying to camp for any of these events, that you separate camping spots from parking spots, because the camping spots, like if you're making a placard, you want to let them know that you are going to a campground that you paid for, not just going to a parking spot. Okay, like home built parking we have, but then there's home built camping. Home built camping is freaking awesome, by the way, if you guys want to walk out there and during the Oshkosh event. Like, there's so many amazing aircraft there that you guys can check out. Cool. We got warbirds. You know, something totally wild. You know, I didn't even think of doing this. Maybe I should do this. Maybe I should do this. I don't know if the PDF thing is going to be a problem. But what I can literally do is I can take this entire map and actually create a georeferenced overlay on Oshkosh with it, which might be great. Actually, let me do that. But let me finish these waypoints first, because you're going to want to use both realistically, and I'll explain why in a second. Fly-in theater. Oh my god, I never even did that. That's so cool. I just want to make sure I didn't miss anything. Okay, and that's a really important one, right? So aircraft parking and camping next to the ultralight field is general aircraft parking and camping. So that's what we'll do. South 40 camping is this whole area over here. So that's what that is. Pretty sure there's a helicopter spot here too somewhere. We did home built camping. H lot, tri-motor. Okay, so this is more general camping down here. Okay, this is North 40 camping. Shit. Cool. And more North 40 camping. I'm just gonna match mine with theirs. There's a really big camping area. Pink lot, brown lot, where helicopter experiences. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure the helicopters are going to come in right there, but I don't want to jump the gun on that, so I'm not going to yet. What I will do, however, is I'm going to actually take this entire map and georeference it, because why not? So what I'll do is I'll take a screenshot on my device. I will just kind of crop out something that looks reasonably decent. Done. And then I think, I should probably know this, but I think what I can do is in layers here, I can just add a picture. And then it will automatically convert that to PDF. Okay, so it needs placement. Let's place it. So we're gonna go to the threshold. Actually, you know, let's be more specific. This is gonna get a little technical here, and that's okay, because that's what we're doing. We're doing technical stuff. Let's do 6. Okay, we need to find Oshkosh now. Wisconsin. where are you, Wisconsin? That's Madison. Aye. I apologize for my lack of geographic skills. I've been in Alaska for too long. Where are you, Oshkosh? Okay, hold on one second. Keep editing. Oh, there we go. Oshkosh. Boom. Cool. Where's my airport? There it is. I think that this will actually be easier to georeference the runways using this. Let me see if the sectional's better. No. Okay. So we got runway 6. I think. Or runway 9, sorry. And runway 27. We got runway 18. We got 36. We got whatever this is. We got whatever this is. Oh, what's going on? We got this guy. And again, I can adjust the opacity if I need to see more. What am I doing? And if I forget what point I'm looking at, I can just go back to source and I can see the question mark. That's where I'm looking for. It's just the... Where are you? Where are you? There it is. What am I missing here? Oh, see, we made a mistake. Okay, so waypoints 6, 2, and 5 need to be deleted. So we can go down to 6. Let's get rid of 6. 5 and 2 need to be deleted because I incorrectly georeferenced them. Okay, but let's do... I think I'm still working on 1. Let's go back to source. Okay, and we're looking for that now. Actually, let's make this easier. I don't like this. Let's just click this center right there and verify that it is centered. And then before we start getting overly complex, let's reference it to the runway convergence. If you start picking more complicated points to start, then it's just going to confuse the crap out of you. So let's just not make that an issue for us. And then I'll use the intersections as a next really good one. Let's see here. Yeah, we'll use the intersections. Boom. Here. 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 Sweet. All right, we've got our ultralight runway. Let's do that. And actually, let's kind of go threshold to threshold here if we can. Very good. We've got a few buildings we can reference. We've got our EAA Aviation Museum. Let's go back to satellite. And then I want to just see what we clicked on here. Where is that? Okay. There, and you can see things are starting to kind of line up, right? Okay, we got 1, 2, 3, 4 big hangars. We'll use the 4th hangar as our next reference. And let's actually reference our parking lots now. I think we've got a good enough. Oh, we forgot about that path there. You gotta remember that. That's our, was that Warbird? Okay. Actually, let's do our Boeing Plaza. That would be a good one. Okay, Boeing Plaza. Now we've got all these roads. That would be really fantastic. Intersections are great. We'll pick this intersection right here. And again, if you forget what you did, so that's closer to the end of the runway. This fat old intersection. Where are you? And I don't like to harp on things. If I can't find it, I'll just choose something else. So this is the next one, right? Fly-in theater. Let's see if we can do that. And let's start referencing our parking zones now. So we got... no, those are pretty big areas. I don't want big areas. I want small areas. We got these 4 buildings here. Let's go building A, B, B, C, C, D, D. Sweet. And now let's see how accurate this is looking. Just our opacity. Alright, we want these runways to certainly be lined up here. And I can see that main runway is pretty good. I shouldn't say main runway. That runway is pretty good, but not quite good enough. I'm going to make some intersections down the secondary runway. Okay, so let's do this intersection, and then where these 2 runways come together. Cool. Let's see what that looks like. Alright, I want these to be better, for sure. Let's go for that and that. Boom. See if that corrected it a little bit. It's still not great, but it's pretty freaking good. So, pretty freaking good, I'm going to keep, okay? So when I save this, I'm going to click Generate MB Tiles. Don't click Save in Place if you're trying to create an actual overlay for ForeFlight or Garmin Pilot. If you click Save in Place, all it's going to do is it's going to georeference the map on the software to allow for you to better plan things, okay? Which I could have done before I made the waypoints, right? But I didn't. So we're going to click Generate MB Tiles. And voila. Now we've got this, what was just a screenshot, actually georeferenced onto our map. All right, and now we can actually go in here and be like, okay, let's get a better reference as to like where these parking areas actually are. And if I wanted to reduce its opacity just to give me a better perspective of like what's underneath it, I can do that too. And I'm going to get off the sectional chart here and go back into streets. And yeah. Or actually, no. Let's go into satellite. I like that better. Cool. All right, and you can kind of see there. It's not going to be perfect, okay? Perfection is not a thing right now, but what I am going to do is I'm going to trace this guy. So we've got our warbird's path. Cool. All right. And let's just see if we got everything here. So we've got our overlay. The runways are pretty much there where they should be. Okay, aerobatic is where aerobatic should be. Vintage is where vintage should be. Ultralights are where they should be. There's the runway. Seaplane amphib is good. General parking and camping. And then, yeah, like you could literally make as many of these, as many descriptive qualities as you want on here. But the waypoints are great because, yeah, you could see them on ForeFlight without the overlay. And the overlay is great because now you literally have a georeferenced overlay. But understand that the georeferencing does take work, and it's your responsibility as the pilot in command to use this planning tool to actually make the georeference points in the right location. If you make them in the wrong location, like, for example, you saw how in the very beginning of making this file, I was clicking the wrong, I was offsetting the reference point, which offset my map, okay? And like right here, for example, we can see there's a little offset there, right? So don't, but it's close enough that you can realistically get a perspective of where things are. Like the warbird parking is where the warbird parking is, right? It's there, okay? So I'll just leave that. I'll turn this layer off for now, right? And we'll call all of our parking stuff done, okay? So we know where all the parking sites are now for Oshkosh, mapped out on there. So let's open up our Dropbox again here to get the rest of the procedure on, and then we're going to keep making stuff. So let's see what's next. So we got our HPC VAC. This is actually a great thing. If you were to, I'm not going to import the PDF because for whatever reason while I'm streaming it's just taking forever to do. Okay, but I think a great thing would be to screenshot this guy, crop the image out, and then put in like an info waypoint, right? And then insert a PDF on the info waypoint. So when you're looking at your EFB, you could be like, okay, hey, what do I have to do? Like, I mean, you could literally like be flying to Oshkosh from wherever you are and bring some printer paper with you and take a Sharpie and draw it on there. So having the whole plan, like pictures of all the specific acronyms for the parking spots, it's good, right? And we can just make sure we cut. So home-built camping, vintage aircraft camping, general camping, warbird area, International Aerobatic Club. Yeah, we're past the ramp. Okay. Cool. Okay, so next, VFR route planning guide. VFR arrival to Oshkosh starts the air traffic control designated transition, city of Ripon. Okay. Okay. So we can go back out to our sectional chart here. And I'm pretty sure we're back to north up now. Okay, so that's what I'm looking at there. Okay, so this is just pretty much alerting us of restricted areas or military operating areas, pretty much just SUA in the vicinity of Oshkosh, and telling us like we need to check NOTAMs to make sure that we know whether the restricted areas are active or not. I would always recommend nobody plans their flight plans through a restricted area. Don't do that. It's stupid. It takes extra time. I mean, you can, but if you're planning and like just plan outside of the restricted area. MOAs, exercise extreme caution. I always plan through MOAs. I mean, that can be a kind of controversial subject. Like, yes, in an MOA, you could have controlled firing areas inside of MOAs, right? Aerial firing, right? So exercise extreme caution. Tuning into if you check the margins of your sectional chart, you should be able to get like track on, or not. I think it's, what is it? Well, the margins of your sectional chart under every single SUA will give you frequencies to advise. A lot of the times the military has military frequencies that guard those areas. So I would, if you're flying through an MOA, I would tune into those frequencies so you can hear what's going on. Like we used to fly caravans underneath the Yukon MOAs when we were flying out to Eagle all the time, and we would just always be on the military frequencies, listening in on them. I mean, we couldn't do the high VHF range, but like if there is a low VHF range in the hundreds, then tune into that, listen to what's going on, maybe even check in and let them know you're there. But yeah, just wanted to cover that real quick. This is just going over the recommended VFR arrival procedures prior. I'm not going to highlight those guys. But let's see. VFR traffic transition in central Wisconsin, avoid Folk Field. No, I just want to make sure that that isn't something that I absolutely have to create right now. I could. But I won't. Madison. Okay, I'm assuming Madison's right here, right? Yeah, so this is Madison. This is VFR transitions, just avoid Madison class Charlie. It tells us that they don't want us to, we've got literally thousands of aircraft flying into Oshkosh. The last thing a class Charlie controller wants to do is deal with thousands of aircraft requesting transitions through their airspace. So this is just telling you don't do that. Same thing with Green Bay. Pretty much every controlled airspace, if applicable, don't fly through it, right? This is just them being like, hey, we're publishing this because air traffic control has in the past been like, hey, please God, tell these airplanes to stop requesting transitions and just fly around, right? So I'm not going to create overlays. You could create overlays of the preferred transitions, but these are pretty broad. This is basically just telling you, hey, it's like, for example, Milwaukee, we're not going to tell you guys to fly 10 miles offshore. Fly to the west of Milwaukee Airport, give yourself distance. Usually it looks like they want you to be like around 20 nautical miles to the west side. Little thing about, I call this the Phantom Class Charlie airspace zone. Within 20 nautical miles of a Class Charlie airspace, even though the outer ring of the airspace shelf actually goes out to about 10, the controllers are monitoring actively up to 20. So, like, if you're inside of that 20, they're looking at you as, like, a potential ding. Like, hey, like, this guy might be coming into our airspace soon. Like, if I ever report to approach, right, I typically report, like, when I was in a caravan reporting into Fairbanks, there's a Class Charlie airspace out there, I would report at 20 nautical miles exactly every time. Not before and not after. I would report at 20, right? Because it was right when it's like, I'm close enough for them to be concerned about my vector, right? But I'm not too far that it's a pain to sequence me because now they got to, use their long-term memory to remember where I am, right? Okay, this is just transitioning through Chicago's Class Bravo. We're going to skip through this real quick. Right, but I'm not saying that this material isn't important to read through, right? This is all important to read through, but this is kind of like extracurricular to the FISC arrival itself. Okay, FISC VFR, this is good. General information, procedures be used by all VFR aircraft landing at Osh for this date. Okay. Starts by using one of the ripen. Okay, so this is what we need to do first. We need to figure out where all of these waypoints are. Okay, so we've got all this going on over here. I'm going to take all this for now, and I'm going to group it into a folder. And I am going to deselect that folder so it's not in my face anymore. Okay, and now my goal is to isolate these waypoints. So let's start with Fisk. I'm gonna see if I could just, I haven't incorporated a waypoint database yet into my search bar, but this is a great indicator that I should. So I will be adding waypoint data sets to my search to my app browser, but at this time you can't search waypoints yet, so we're gonna actually have to just find this, unfortunately, which is super fun. Okay, so let's just go to where Oshkosh is. And find Fisk. There we go. So there's a ripen. We'll make this one a 3. We'll change the shape here to a, let's say, I'll stick with diamonds for now. And then we'll go green. 70% opacity is good. I like to reduce opacity to reduce clutter on the screen. Okay, so we'll mark ripen. Okay, then we got Fisk. Okay, then we got Green Lake. Okay, we got Puckaway Lake. We got Endeavor Bridge. And always verify your points line up. So there's our VFR flag. The bottom of the flag post is where the waypoint actually sits. Okay, now we're going to go in and we're going to name all of them. So we'll start over here with Fisk. Okay, and if we need to make minor adjustments, we can do that as well. Fisk looks pretty good. Okay, this is ripen. Looks like they don't want that capitalized. Okay, then we got Green Lake. Puckaway Lake. Sweet. And Endeavor Bridge. Alright, so we're going to stick with that color green and we're going to start connecting the dots here. Alright, so they have a clear... Well, actually, before we do that, let's read up a little bit about when we use which, in case some of the paths... you know what? No, screw it. Let's make the paths, because we can change that later. We can change that later. Okay, let's go into our path tool. I'm going to go click. What click allows you to do is make really simple straight lines. So if I'm just making a straight line segment, I'd much rather use click than draw. Okay, line width there. Keep it pretty wide so we can really clearly see it. Opacity, will match it to the waypoints. Okay, so I'm going to make these different segments. I need to associate a magnifying glass feature that lets me see things under my thumb. That's another thing I'll be adding here. Okay. And just to move these vertices, I am holding down on them and dragging them. Next one, we'll do one. Oh, actually, I want it to be a separate segment. So to end a segment, you got to go to select. That ends the segment, then restart a segment. We're just going to go boom and boom. Okay. And then go back to select, get out of it. I'm going to select every time because if you don't go to select, it's just going to keep building more sections of the same path. I want these to be distinctly different paths because some of these, like it works like a standard terminal arrival route where Ripon is going to be the primary waypoint that air traffic control will send you to. But if you have areas of high traffic, if you have days where there's additionally higher traffic intensity, right, they're going to send you down the line. So I'm going to color these paths. I'm going to color code them so it tells you, okay, Ripon, like the green line is just the general transition, right? Anything that's orange or farther down the line here is going to be, you know, specific to certain conditions. Sorry, I didn't elaborate on that earlier. That's why I'm not making one continuous path. But you could make one continuous path if you wanted to. Like in ForeFlight, for example, they just give you one like little auto-propagating overlay right now with the package that they created. We're trying to be as specific as possible and really take the plane with us in the cockpit. So I want to color code this specifically here. But for now, we're just building the general path. Okay. I'm also going to make it so the toggle for the path isn't as much of a pain. Because right now it's kind of like, ugh, you know, there we go. Boom. And on ForeFlight, it doesn't even let you scroll in this far. So like if you're editing to this level of detail, then on ForeFlight, you're not even going to, like, for example, you're not even going to see the offset between the waypoints and those 2 points right there. So that doesn't really matter. This one might need a little tweaking. I'll just tweak her a little bit. Yeah, so that toggle is a little sketchy sometimes. That's definitely something that I can improve. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Alrighty, so now to go back into our documents here and read up on the individual sections. Planning arrivals to avoid airport closure periods. Okay, we already kind of covered that. Critical fuel, notify air traffic control, or, better yet, land at any of the airports that have fuel around you here. Okay, it's really, when I hear about the fuel starvation things in the lower 48, it always really aggravates me because it's like, in Alaska, I would load a 207 up with full tanks and make 15 stops on one tank of gas. And we would only have 2 airports in a 50 nautical mile radius that actually had avgas sometimes. Right? And we would operate the airplanes like taxi cabs. But maybe 15 is stretching a little bit. I would say closer to like 8 or 9. And I think 9 would have maybe I think 10 would have been like the longest. 10 stops, 10 different villages would be like the longest thing. And it was the same with the caravans too. It's like, you know, that's just how it works. So in the lower 48, you got all these fuel airports, right? Just, you know, aviate first. If you see you're low on fuel, just go to an airport with fuel, load up on gas real quick, right? That's just, you know, I don't know. I guess tips from a CFI. Transition starting point. Okay, approaching transition starting point. Ensure lights are on within 50 miles of OSH. Okay. Okay, so let's do this. Okay, so there is a specific note here that says lights need to be on within 50 miles, regardless of the time of day. Okay, so I'm going to measure 50 nautical miles here and put a note that says lights are on. Okay, and that's all lights. That's your landing light, it's your beacon light, it's everything, okay? You're a Christmas tree. Okay, so I'm going to put a waypoint there around that 50 nautical miles, and I'm going to paint it red. I'm going to upsize it, and I'm going to make it a bullseye. And that waypoint is going to say lights on. Cool. And what that circle is right there that keeps popping up, this is my, these are the vertices associated with this circle polygon that I made to represent Fond du Lac's temporary airspace. Speaking of which, before I forget, let's go back into Fond du Lac real quick. Actually, I guess it's coming up. There was that note about Fond du Lac that said the airspace went up to 3,300 feet. So let me go and match the color with the waypoint, and I'll make this one a square, and I'll downsize this one just a little bit. And then just inside of this zone, I'm just going to say bracket 3,300 feet down to surface. Just kind of like a, you know, it tells me, you know, the airspace starts at 3,300 feet and goes down to the surface there, just, you know, to be more specific about that. Approaching transition starting point. Ensure lights are on 50 miles. Tune into arrival ATIS no later than 60 miles from OSH. Okay. So let's measure again here. We need 60 miles now. This is actually a great time to drag this one here then. Okay, because I put that a little late. 60. Okay, we're going to tune to ATIS. Make this one red again. Charleston, go in the back. Go in the back, dude. Stop. I'm going to make it a bullseye for now. And yes. Cool. And then this one, the blue one, was a mistake, so I'm just going to go into my eraser here. Contact eraser is the one on the right. Oh. And then I erased it. Cool. Alrighty, and then we're going to name this one ATIS 25-9er. Okay. Okay, and then it says here, fixed miles, have noticed arrival pages mention ATIS arrival, then monitor FISC approach 1207. So we'll do, I'm just going to duplicate this. Duplicate. And then I'm going to drag it. And then here, I'll just tune in FISC approach 1207. Okay, FISC approach. Arrive at transition starting point at 90 knots and 1,800 feet for aircraft unable to operate comfortably at 90 knots. Slower aircraft should use maximum cruising speed. Air traffic control recommends aircraft at FISC 7 to 7:30 a.m. if practicable. Okay, so this is just basically telling you to get there earlier than, yeah. Faster aircraft use 135 knots and 2,300 feet if needed for safety of flight. Expect descent at or after FISC. So when they say arrive at transition starting point, right? If there's like no aircraft in the vicinity of the airport, then they're just going to go direct FISC. Okay. If there's more aircraft, then it's going to most likely be. Oh, why is this still waypoint? Hold on. It should be ripened. Make sure I edited these. Tuck away. Never. Very good. So this is important. So regardless of your starting point here, I'm going to put these notes here. Let's make a waypoint for, we're just going to make 2 informational waypoints here. I'm going to name one faster, and I'm going to name the other slower. Faster. Slower. So now the rule for faster is at your starting point, we're going to go 135 knots and 2,300 feet if needed for safety of flight. Expect descent at or after FISC. Okay, so that's in the description for faster. Now slower. Slower. use maximum cruising speed. ATC recommends arrival at Fisk 7 o'clock to 7:30 a.m. CDT if practicable. Sweet. And that's because if you're a slow aircraft, they want you there earlier because they don't want slow aircraft tied into a bunch of normal or faster aircraft all coming in a big Congo line, because that's how a lot of near mid-air collision scenarios end up happening. You get a lot of aircraft overtaking one. I mean, if you have like 10 aircraft that are all overtaking one slower aircraft, then you're 10 times more likely to get an NMAX scenario. So that's probably why they did that. And then here, what I'll do is I'll just put these together actually. Faster, slower, and let's go .90 knots. And then in brackets here, I'll do 1,800 feet. As just a general, hey, do this. Begin the procedure at the air traffic control designated transition starting point. Okay, remain at least half mile in trail beside the aircraft you are following. While I have this image up, okay, I'm going to start drawing these holds out. Okay, so I'll go into my path tool here, and I will start making these holds make sense. I'm going to use the click draw to do this. There's the Green Lake. It looks like they use streets as a better tool there for that. Boom. Boom. I hear you, buddy. I'm doing something. Dude. Drag this. I need to make that a little better. Just the way that's working. Cool. That is annoying. If you have a mouse, it's easier to click, hold, and drag, but using the finger hold, I'm going to make it so it works more like the measure feature, where the vertice kind of pops out at you, and it has a wider range where it receives the... Yeah. Okay, so there's that one. And then there is an alternate way that we'll do. just going to keep it as the same color for now. Back to Puckaway Lake. Okay. Looks like they want you to kind of wrap around the edge of the lake and then come out that way, which is fun. Okay. Let me just give water to my dog real quick because he is thirsty. Okay. Alright, so now that those are there, okay, we'll move on. Okay, so now we got the specific transitions. Endeavor Bridge transition. Transition starts City of Endeavor, 47 sound, extremely high volumes of traffic. Robert Junction. Cool. So I'm going to color code this one, and then I'm going to add notes to that particular waypoint. So this path, I'm going to go into properties, and I'm going to make this one, I guess this color. That works. Oh, shoot. Gotta push save. Okay, and then I'm going to go, and I'm going to match that same color to the waypoint. I think it was something like that. Okay. If extreme volumes of traffic are present. We got Puckaway. Okay, so we'll go and we'll make this one orange, or let's go that color there. And then I'll go show properties. Okay. And there is one thing that I want to add with this one. It looks like the way that they want me to fly this is not the way that I made. I'm going to make another path here. They want something that looks a little bit more like this, that goes around the outside of the lake. And that makes sense because the last thing they want to do is vector a bunch of aircraft over water. Sense. Sweet. So you see how I just tapped twice more trying to get out of it and just created 2 more points? Again, you got to go back into select to complete that path. This transition starts southwest quarter Green Lake. Okay. Now we're going to make the Green Lake a different color here. Let's make this one blue. And then we'll leave ripen green. Holding is not in progress. Proceed to the northeast corner of ripen. Okay, so it specifies they need to be over the railroad tracks between ripen to Fisk. So we got to find the railroad tracks. Go to our sectional chart. Oh. And just make sure that lines up, which it pretty much lines up. Because they said directly over the train tracks, I am going to, in my own best interest, make it perfect. Yes. So let us go into paths, and I'm going to go back into this green color here, and I'm going to go with this. And I'm going to follow the railroad tracks exactly. Cool. Alright, so now that's a little bit more accurate. Pilots, okay, so ripen to Fisk. Do not S-turn. Instead, break off the procedure, proceed to the starting point, and follow another aircraft or similar speed. Okay, cool. So that's an important note to have there. Let's just go into ripen and take all of these notes, copy, and paste it into the description. And save. Okay, so now the actual arrival to Oshkosh from Fisk. So Fisk is going to follow the railroad tracks to two separate scenarios. Or I guess no, you have two separate scenarios from Fisk. So you've got your northerly runway scenario, and then you've got your east-west runway scenario. Okay, so there's Fisk. We're going to make our two scenarios here. Let's do red and blue. We'll do red for the top. We're going to start at Fisk. We're going to follow the railroad tracks. All the way to 91. Okay, and then we are going to go that way somewhere. And then scenario B, let me make this a little better here. Come on, man. Yeah, I gotta, that's gonna be like a today change. I need to make the vertices when toggle dragging paths on mobile a lot easier to use. Okay, then from Fisk, the second is going to be direct to should be Fisk Avenue. Okay. Okay, at Fisk, controllers will call your aircraft by color and type. No verbal responses are required. If you do not understand, definitely add that to the description as well. Copy. Paste there. Copy. Paste there. Fisk Ave. Pretty sure that's Fisk Ave. But I want to be sure. Yeah, that's Fisk Ave. Okay, so let's do blue. Or, you know, green. Green is good. And that goes past 41 to about here. And you can see in this here, there's an emergency landing field. That would be a really great thing to notate right at Fisk. So that is this guy right here. And I just want to verify that it's the right thing. I'm just going to use my measuring tool. It says it's 2,300 feet. Switch this to feet again. That doesn't look like 2,300 feet to me. Oh, hold up, no. It goes further. Yeah, that, well, Yeah, well, they might have glorified that a little bit, but it's all right. Okay. Make that red. Put this right here. And I'll just label this just so it's there. Emergency landing field. And I'll say 2,300 foot runway. Cool. So again, all these little charts right here, what I would do is I would take screenshots of them and cut them out. And actually, now anyway, because I will be putting this overlay up on our store after the fact, so you guys could purchase it. And now this is just going through the actual landing phase into Oshkosh. And there's a microwave tower here. I just want to see what that looks like. Looks like this is a really important point, and they want you to be south of the microwave tower. Oh no, north of the microwave tower. Okay. Interesting. Where's this tower at? It's becoming important. Okay, there it is. So there's your microwave tower, and that's an important reference, so I'm gonna go and what the heck is going on? I'm going to go ahead and mark that out as a small waypoint. Okay, cool. Landing approach, waiver has been issued, reducing arrival and departure separation standards for Category 1 Category 2 aircraft. Okay, so this is basically just telling you it's like once you're at the end of either the railroad transition or the 40th Avenue transition or Fisk Avenue transition, you are gonna pretty much be entering a giant shit show. No, the FAA has issued a waiver to the Air Traffic Control Authority in the Oshkosh fly-in to be able to reduce the separation minima between aircraft. So pretty much usually, you were flying no more than a half mile from aircraft. Okay, that could shorten to less, and they are going to expect you to have the skill as a pilot to land on a pinpoint position. They've got colored spots on the runways, and they're going to say, for example, land on the red dot runway 9, as opposed to just clear to land runway 9. And if you don't respond, we're cleared to land on the red dot, then you won't be cleared for that landing. And they do this because they're literally landing multiple aircraft at the same time on the same runway. So it's all, if you guys are familiar with land and hold short operations, it's pretty much land and hold short operations where you're going to be expected to keep it in a certain distance, landing on a specific visual point on that runway. Okay, and what we'll do here is, I just want to check to see this description. I thought I just edited that. Hold on. Good. Okay, so we're gonna name rename this to info, and we're gonna go and insert all of this information. Sure that's stuck. Cool. Okay, and we'll just kind of give it a little scan here to talk about it while I'm doing this live stream. Landing approaches at Oshkosh. Waiver has been issued reducing arrival and departure separation. We just kind of talked about that. Okay, they want us to maintain that 90 knots until entering the pattern, and they're going to give us the altitudes. They're going to give us the changes in altitude once we get to Fisk. Arrivals and departures on separate air traffic controller frequencies. 2 separate radio frequencies are used for each landing runway. That's important to know. Flights of aircraft. Some pilots travel together to AirVenture as a flight. Yeah, let's see how they want us to do it. Flights approaching Ripon should traffic volume permitting ask Fisk on the Fisk arrival frequency of position identifying as a flight of the number of aircraft, right? Flights that chose to maintain formations less than half mile in trail are responsible for their own separation between members of the flight. Although flight members generally want to remain together to the airport, this may not always be feasible. Make advanced connection plans. Okay. Make advanced reconnection plans with all flight members in the event you become separated from another upon arrival. This is all pretty basic information. Okay, and then these are the large formation arrivals. So in Oshkosh, they have things like aircraft of the same type groups meet prior and then do these huge formation flights where they all land simultaneously. That's what this is talking about. So let's do in, this is actually something worth putting a waypoint in for sure. Make that a bullseye. And I'm going to I'm just going to specify that. Okay, moving on. Fisk holding. Back to 1207. And we need to draw this holding pattern. Okay, so there is Fisk. There is Rush Lake, which looks seasonal. Yeah, so there's that seasonal lake right there. Okay, so that's what this holding pattern would look like. We're going to do another click to draw, and we're going to make this a grayish color. Okay, I added some extra points there because I want to smooth out the edges a little bit in a second. But that is... Oh, added an extra vertex, you don't want to do that. Yeah, just so I can, like... Just so I can, like, smooth it out a little bit. Oh, that's so annoying. Okay, and they specify the direction of the holds. So now I'm going to go to draw, and I'm going to make little arrows. And every new arrow prong, you got to start another one. Again, you have to click the select to do that. Like that. Okay, that should be good. And then there's another hold, which is more like a symmetrical rectangle shape that is associated with ripen. That just goes right around Green Lake. So this is what we'll do. We'll go draw. And then I'll use the same color here. Rounded rectangle. Okay. And now again, I want to specify the direction of the hold. Just gonna make more arrows. Click out when I'm done with that arrow. Okay. Very good. Very good. And then there's one more thing that I want to add here. Just the transition from the hold to ripen again. This is how they want you to do it, so that's what I'm going to write. Sweet, create an extra vertex there, just spaced back to get rid of it. Okay. Very nice. Okay, so now these are the actual procedures coming into a particular runway, which we'll get into here. Okay, so first off, we've got our railway. And now that I look at it from this perspective, what it looks like here is that that there will be two separate scenarios. So if you're using runway 27, what we drew up here is what it's going to look like, where we're just going to enter a left downwind. I guess that would be a right downwind. Yeah, that would be a right downwind for 27. But if we're using runway 9, that would be a straight in. I'll just make that a darker shade of red. It'll actually start at the runway here. And I'll just make, as long as this lines up with fucking 27 or 9, it should be good. Go 270. Boom. Cool. That's runway 9, and yeah, they're okay. So there's 27 and there's 9. So what we'll do here then is we will continue this line. Downwind over the gravel pit and begin your descent. So let's just make sure that we got the gravel pit there. It's looking like they want us to stretch this just a little bit further out so we're actually over that gravel pit. Pretty wide downwind. Looking like there's some changes they need to make to these runway numbers. We're looking at a 5-degree offset from the latest variation. Okay, let's see if there's a... Okay. All right, and now this one is what color? I think it's that color. Shoot. So here's another really cool thing, right? So let's say that, like, for example, we're not getting the exact shade of color here, right? Actually, these might be the exact same, but like, let's say that we're confused about what exact shade of color to use. What we can do is we can go into our lasso, and as long as the shapes are of the same type, we can go in here and we can show properties for both of them and edit the color in tandem. Right? So we didn't affect this one, just the top one. Cool. So now we've got, for 3.6, just gonna keep following Fisk Avenue. Yeah, I'm not too concerned about the color right now. So you can see it's not lining us up to the end of the runway, it's lining us up to the blue dot for 3.6. Okay, so that's an important distinction to make. Because if you were to go all the way out to the threshold of the runway, it would put you into this gray do not fly zone if that runway is in use. So I remember when I was a marshaller at Oshkosh, okay, that runway 18, sorry, when you're landing on runway 18, okay, that turn there is pretty crazy sometimes. Okay, and same here. We're going to go into select, and we're just going to group these guys into the same color. And I'm also going to make waypoints for the dots on the runways. And we'll make these guys small. You can actually see the dots there already, right? So we got blue, we got pink. Yellow, and we got purple down here, and now we'll just name them. Pink dot, got yellow dot, just gonna make sure I saved pink. Yeah, and then we got purple dot. Sweet. And then I forgot to name the dots on the 9 and 2.7, so let's do that too while we're at it. Okay, so we got white dot, we got green dot. Oh, let's make that the right color. Green dot, we got orange dot. Orange dot. Green dot, and then white dot. Cool. All right, so we got our dots. Nice. Now we need 3/6. Okay, so runway 3/6 is pretty easy. One thing that I also didn't put in is our warbird arrivals either, which I'll do in a second. Okay, so you'll notice that they broke 3/6 into 2 separate runways. Okay, same thing with 1/8. Right, so runway 1/8 left is the taxiway, and runway 1/8 right is the runway. So let's definitely notate that. So let's make a polygon for, and I'm going to draw a polygon rectangle for runway 1/8 left, 1/8 and 3/6. So we'll just make this red with a black outside, or I guess where's my black? There he is. Okay, and we'll make this red, or maybe, I don't know, red's a condescending color. Let's go purple. Okay, I'm gonna make this a deeper fill. Okay, and that's gonna start at the blue dot. And I'm just gonna make a rectangle and adjust it. What do you mean, no clear shape? No, I want a rectangle. Use rectangle. There we go. Cool. And now I'll go and I will adjust the dimensions of the rectangle.